Welcome back to the SMITE Console League. My name is Finch. Happy to have you here with us as we move from EU into North America. To help me break it all down, I'm joined by Anatoly Alexeyev right here to my left. Toli, you just got through cast and now you're on the desk. How you feeling, man?
Pretty good, you know, rival on the Xbox European side of things, showing their dominance still.
Yes, that team is still good. If anyone out there was wondering, though, I think we all knew they were going to keep on winning over there. We're moving, though, into PS4 North America here next. It's Nemesis going up against Benedict's Cavalry here in just a moment will be the set that we're taking a look at. We do want to take a look at the standings, though, get everyone refreshed on where everyone is shaping up here right now. So this should be PS4 EU that we're going to take a look at here first to make sure that everyone is where they belong. Out cold, the team that was your representative here at MSI are the ones up at the top of the standings.
Very important victory today because it was week number 2 where VGS Gods won that head-to-head against Out Cold, so now Out Cold winning it, and if there's ever a tiebreaker, keeps them in the running to qualify to the LAN.
That's right, yeah. So it's big for Out Cold to have been able to grab that win, though Aerial Arise is still right there next to them, so not easy. Let's go ahead and keep things moving here with these standings that we just got through taking a look at PS4 EU. Next up is Xbox EU. Rival sub at the top, and Dabos, having only lost to Rival, are right there behind.
It's going to be interesting to see if Dabos can ever find revenge in that next matchup once they do face off.
Yeah, I believe the first time they played, they hadn't swapped back their carries yet at that point, so maybe they were both at subs and both had subs and not playing at full strength, so maybe put a small asterisk there, but I think you still would give that one to Rival. Let's take a look at PS4 NA here next up. With those standings, up at the very top right now is E-Boys Gone Wild with Nemesis right there with them. And this one is a bit of a surprise. I mean, these two were the most competitive last phase as well, but Nemesis you would expect to be up top.
You definitely do, especially with Nemesis having Jumpah, you know, that Season 4 Worlds, basically winning that one with Myth and Inbound and all that crew. So he should be up on the top there, but a lot of competition in the PS4 NA.
That's right, and then we'll take a look at the last one here, and that should be Xbox NA standings. That will be coming up here next. Hype Unit up at the top, largely unscathed. No big surprise at all that this is the strongest team in that region.
Definitely is, especially having the same, almost the same exact roster from winning the last previous World, still dominating in Season 6.
That's right, they've had some slight change to that. I think Champa was there in support with them for the World's win, and no longer with Griff on that team for them as well. But turns out that team's still able to do pretty well, but we'll start things off here with PS4 NA. As I was mentioning earlier, this is Nemesis going into Benedict's Cavalry as this match we're looking at, and you were kind of talking about it a bit already, but this Nemesis roster, the reason they've been so successful so far is because they're just stacked with talent. It's not just Jumpah here, but Nickwood on this roster for them as well. ZachsyTDK in that ADC role for them, and they've got a ton of talent.
That's right, and with ZachsyTDK in that dual lane is also mattkoiz. He's probably not going to start off in the dual lane with the Season 6 meta having the support kind of wander over that solo lane, but wouldn't be surprised to see mattkoiz making a huge impact this game.
That's right. That is going to make things a little bit difficult here for Benedict's Cavalry, but this is a team that can kind of hang with them a little bit, so I'm expecting that we will have at least a competitive match, though I do think going into this Nemesis should be considered the favorites, as they will be in that first pick position here, Toli. And like you said, maybe we'll see some of the SPL stuff, like with where mattkoiz and the supports are going, but console does still have a lot of flavor all to its own as well.
They really do. Sometimes we might see the early level 2 gank shenanigans in the long lane. Important thing to do when there's gods that don't have the mobility. When you're picking a mage like Chang'e all of a sudden there, Morrigan, you might want to lean and kind of camp that lane.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's also just something to be said for catching them off their timers on when they normally expect wards to be up or when they are usually predicting that you're at certain camps. If you can kind of mess with those timers that they keep in their heads, then oftentimes your ganks will be successful. We can talk a little bit more specifically about this matchup, though. The Erlong Shen and the Odin both already taken out. Meanwhile, the Jarmangandr and the Kronos banned away by Benedict's Cavalry.
That doesn't surprise me, because whenever you see somebody on the other enemy team named Jarmangandr, you might want to actually ban it away. It is formerly Nemesis there, trying to see what he can do in that solo lane.
That's right, changing things up here a little bit for them, as the Chang'e and the Thor have both been taken away. And these so far have all been fairly standard in terms of the bans that we're taking a look here at so far. So I expect for us to see some more of these high value picks to be coming through. I've been a bit surprised at how much Soul just been invalued in general here in this second phase, despite that we're no longer seeing Freya's in some of these other mage ADCs. So maybe we'll see some Soul come through later on.
Very possible. With Kronos being banned, like Soul has been like the next go-tos usually in that hunter position. Although Olorun has been flirted with from time to time in that lane. If you're able to get off a good composition of CC, that Sanctified Field is just much more powerful.
It is such a strong cooldown. When Olorun's picked, Sanctified Field's oftentimes the most important ultimate that's out there. And we are indeed going to be seeing him along with the Isis. These are two picks that don't normally make it through nowadays. These two get banned a lot of the times at the top of the ban phase, so you'll get to see some of what these gods are capable of.
Yeah, that circle of protection inside the Sanctified Field is going to be easy to either steal away objectives or confirm them for yourself. You don't want to go into one of those ultimates, let alone two.
Yes, that could be a bit of a problem for you. Isis went through some changes to where her Dispel Magic's a lot stronger now, providing that shield depending on how many she's able to hit. There's a lot of good things she has going for her, Anatoly, but she's going into the Hell and the Kumbhakarna for Nemesis. Those are not easy to deal with either. A ton of control for the Kumbha and all the sustain from that Hell.
And a lot of flexibility for Nemesis as like, where are these picks going, right? Hell could easily still go for Liquid in that Soul lane if he really wants to. It could be played in that long lane for Zaxy, or it could just be in mid for Coils. Like, it's still uncertain, and there needs to be some anti-healing option from Cavalry as a result, but instead they're looking for burst damage quite now.
Is what we're looking at here as Set comes through from Benedict's Cavalry. With Isis and Olorun already picked up, I doubt this will be Set ADC like we saw from Snoopy. My hope is that it'll be Set solo. I really like him in that 1v in the solo lane, but could very well still be Set in the jungle as well.
Wouldn't be surprised. Maybe to even see a Serqet coming through from Cavalry. If you're looking for anti-healing, that wouldn't be a bad option to go for, needing a little bit of control. If you're looking for just teamfight power, maybe even Hun Bats for that Fear No Evil to pair up with a Sanctified Field and the Circle of Protection.
Donji and Vamana both stripped away now by Benedict's Cavalry as well. So taking a bit of a shot towards that jungle role. At this point, there's not a lot of it. I know you said you wanted a little bit of anti-heal if you could splash it into the support role, and it looks like that's going to be the call here for Benedict's Cavalry with the Bacchus lock-in.
That Belch of the Gods applying 50% anti-healing should be a good look to limit some of the healing from Hell, but you're going to need more than that, probably building into the Pestilence and a little bit more like a Brawler Speed Stick out of the set, Divine Ruin from the Isis.
Yeah, maybe even something like a Contagion as it's Serqet that's picked up by Nemesis. Not only something that Jumpah does like to play, but also potentially not allowing Benedict's Cavalry to grab that one as well into the Hell they've already grabbed for themselves. So not a bad comp from Nemesis. This Xing Chen, who we don't see much of anymore, provides another good bit of control to go along with this Kumbhakarna.
Yeah, if you're looking at limiting the damage out of Olorun, the Furious Roar from Xing Chen is going to limit that late game potential.
Yeah, I think that it certainly can as the Ravana comes in to add some dive potential for Cavalry. That's another one that Jumpah likes to play, except it's on the other side this time. Let's go ahead and move into the action. I believe it's Hindu and Aggro that are standing by to receive the call.
It is indeed myself and the one, the only Ryan Aggro Bailey will be bringing you this broadcast between Nemesis and Benedict's Cavalry. Ryan, I don't get many chances to check in with the console scene. But
you're a busy man on Mondays.
Generally, yeah. It's mainly meetings to find out what was said on broadcast for the most part and who said something wrong or right, or if the broadcast even worked in the first place. So, Cavalry coming into this one, I'm looking at the standings and 0-3. Is this the same sort of thing that we've seen through console teams throughout the years, where it's team at the bottom really struggling to just find a composition that works?
Yeah, you've got it. That's kind of still been the case. I mean, Benedict's Cavalry, among many console teams, I think, still trying to find their footing and really having a tough time up against the more experienced teams like Nemesis in this instance. Now, Nemesis loses a bit of their experience with Covey stepping down and Coils stepping up for them in mid, but still, I mean, when you've got Ryan Jarman, Jumpah, mattkoiz, Zaxy, you already have more competitive experience with two of those players combined than most of the rest of the league.
Well, it looks like we're still seeing the same sort of starts that we see in the SPL, where the support players are more aggressive. We've seen it multiple seasons before, where look, the invade at the speed buff was mattkoiz there earlier on, but MidShoTzZ did secure it and then went right towards this right-hand side here to continue farming up. This start, though, always puts the support players behind.
It does, but that's kind of the idea. If you do it successfully, then you've traded your least important farm, sorry Hindu, the support, for the enemy's most important farm, which is the jungler. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, but your risk reward is fairly low. Sure, Quay is going to be a little bit further ahead I suppose, than mattkoiz, but Kumbhakarna is going to be effective basically no matter what. Kumbha's just there to CC you and generally annoy you.
Cavalry currently doing a bit of better job of splitting the experience farm. Bacchus on the left-hand side. K there. Is it K? Is that how you say it? K?
You tell me.
I'm saying K. Let's go with
K.
that. Fat Man Bacchus always works too. Just go with the god name. He's actually joined alongside LazyADC there to soak up some of this farm against Zaxy. In doing so, it does share the experience a little bit more evenly across the map, but it definitely puts pressure points elsewhere.
It does. It means that your mid laner is a bit more susceptible to getting ganked and invaded on, which is why we see a lot of support stand in mid these days, because just standing around in mid, getting all your mid camps is so important. And because you just get to rotate to the map the fastest from the mid lane. And it's meaning that Zaxy's getting all this solo farm. So LazyADC is going to be at a deficit to Zaxy as this game goes on a little bit longer in order to try and catch up to this Hell, which is not where you want to be. Hell from ahead is one of the hardest punishing characters in SMITE.
And when you look through the opposition that Cavalry have put on the table here, the Bacchus will come into play a little bit against this Hell. Anti-heal will be important, and Bacchus over time has had a couple of buffs towards that belch, so anti-heal a little bit stronger than it once was. You did see a little bit earlier on as well, Slipshod Siren on that set in the solo lane. Happy to continue boxing the Xing 10, even though it was a little bit risky at one point or two, but I guess he just knew which abilities were up.
I really like this Xing Chen pick against the set. I mean, so much of what set does is via auto attacks. Xing Chen, what does he do best? Well, CC you #1, but also shut down auto attackers with Furious Roar. Jarman doesn't have to really be concerned about the level of damage he's taking because his HP 5 is going to be high enough. Xing Chen, I think, is really underplayed right now, and this is the type of matchup where I'd expect him to do well.
Especially because basically one benefit this set has lots of damage, but CC really controls him. When you look at what Nemesis have put on the table here, Kumbhakarna and Xing 10, two of the greatest control supports in the game. I say supports, but most of the time they don't always get played in that role. cCoils in the mid lane though, going to throw out the Groggy Strike towards K for the time being, but it's all about farm for now. Meanwhile, the mid lane, Ice is back in the meta. The
Very
Beast,
much so.
but the Beast still around.
Crazily. I mean, he got
big
nerf at mid-season, and yet still top pick, top ban. Pressure is the name of the game, and AMC out-pressures even ISIS just because of how Bees interact with Mage's Blessing a lot of the time. And sometimes you see players even go Hunter's Blessing and out-push. Just having a damaging passive and a bunch of damaging abilities up all the time certainly helps you.
Gold at the moment, even between the two. No real pressure points started from either side of the Nemesis early on. Looking towards that speed buff. At the moment, though, LazyADC continuing to farm up. Is level 5, has the Shoes of Focus online. Zaxy, meanwhile, has his boots online, but went for a bit of a different item choice start here. Looking to rush those boots a little bit quicker.
For the reason of mobility, and he gets to trade pretty heavily. Now, LazyADC at this point ends up ahead because he's got the same boots.
cCoils in the mid lane, gonna find the Groggy Strike, but Silent stunned and gets away from the flop with a flop of his own. Meanwhile, left on Harpies now do come up, and Nemesis have an opportunity to take those away too. At the moment, though, experience-wise, ever so slightly edging for Nemesis here, surprisingly enough.
That's all around this mid lane, mid-camp control. No, you were right.
I saw the other graph, I saw the gold graph, but no, I'm wrong!
No, XP slightly in Nemesis's favor, and that's really just because of mid-camp control. That's why you put the support in the mid lane. K has rotated over and is now spending his time there with Isis to try and help out.
It was a long time since we've spoken about mid-camps, and all of a sudden you'll mention them again. Is that where we're back to now, that the mid-camps are starting to make a difference?
I mean, they've always made a difference. It's just that buff invades kind of took the priority over mid-camps.
True.
After the change to making invading worth less,
And
it didn't take away from how important invading is, but it did make it so that we don't have to risk quite as much. We can really focus on mid-camps, and that's just another benefit of putting the support in the mid lane all the time and letting our ADC get all the farm by himself.
Zaxy now at level 7. You can see he's got that bit of a level lead because of the start where Cavalry did send over their support towards that dual lane. That's where the experience has come from, but Zaxy doing a very good job of even rotating towards these oracles, making sure he soaks up a little bit more experience. As cCoils continues to just be, well, a nuisance, which is exactly what Kumbhakarna brings to the game.
Best thing he does, man. Kumbha just... And no one else has fun when Kumbhakarna's around, you know? Except for the Kumbhakarna player.
Exactly, and that's the most important thing. Wind, fire, wheels, not really. It's called washing machine. No, it's not. I've forgotten the whole name of it because it's been so long. It's good enough, though, for Jumpah to walk on in and give him a Cobra's Kiss to pick it up.
That is the whirlwind of rage and steel.
I knew it was. After I
Graham.
said it, I was like, oh, well.
It is a mouthful for sure.
Thanks there as well for Doug on the camera operator. Man, that guy works harder than anybody else in the SPL.
He really does. He really does, man.
He's hit every game.
Every single game. It's never, the casters change every different set. Current observer, it should just be always observer. It should just be Doug. It's never anybody else. That's all I'm saying.
You can follow him at NA Cameraman on Twitter. Bell shout from the Bacchus on cCoils, not Coys. Fantastic that those players chose to use those names. But that zone work from Key there didn't really come into play. Coils still going to be able to pick up these mid-harpies with the support of Coys as well. And just that first blood in the coffers so far for Nemesis.
Just can't really afford to step up to the AMC at this point. I mean, even though it's only a 1-level deficit here for K, I mean, AMC just does so much damage. I do like the pickup of the Reinforced Greaves, great up against this sort of AMC style, which is a lot of little dots from bees that do end up adding up and taking damage. Now, instead of getting one shot from Swarm into Stinger, you'll get a bunch of procs from those bees procs and ends up taking less damage from the Stinger overall. Good boots pick up here.
Is Crusher still picked up for the AMC these days as well for the extra passive procs?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much core. You'll see Transcendence into Crusher right after the fact. It's just too stat efficient.
Bit of a gank in mid lane from both teams. Spirit Ball off the mark from Kent there, but Groggy Strike on Key does connect. He's going to use his ultimate to try and buy himself a bit of time along with the Circle of Protection out from the Isis. Key's still trying to get away, but ZachsyTDK's made a good rotation over, and there's a nice quick kill for Nemesis. I say quick, it really wasn't.
Level 9 hell, yeah, I'll take some of that. I mean, no way for Cavalry to end up being able to aggress into it. And Coils, I love his aggressiveness, seemed to be a little bit more ready for that rotation than the rest of the boys who were hanging back a little bit, but just a good rotation.
Still some pressure in mid as Coils blinks over the wall towards Shots there, but Shots with the shield will be protected for the time being. The invade towards the red buff is what was looked for there from Nemesis. Wasn't able to be found though. LazyADC already had that one around his waist.
Already has the Bancroft's talent as well, so even though he gets out-rotated towards the mid lane, he's got good boxing potential now in the 1v1 up against Zaxy. Problem is, as soon as you use that Sanctified Field, it's just gonna get cleansed by Zaxy, and he'll be fine. There's a really good counter matchup, I think, for Nemesis in this lane. I don't know how Lazy's supposed to win it.
Jumper silence, Spirit Ball as well, but the damage from the Spirit Ball wasn't that high. I guess it still does more damage as the distance goes with Spirit Ball, so those shorter ones, sure, they'll give you the CC, but they won't give you the amount of damage you're after.
Plus, no pen yet for Kenny. I mean, just has the Book of Thoth. A couple stacks on it for sure, but not enough flat pen to really make it worth the while. And I'm sure he's maxing Wing Gust, so it just doesn't have any points in it yet.
Carl's going to be careful in the mid lane here, getting all in by 3 targets at the same time. Didn't have a ward on that right-hand side, and a lovely little play from Cavalry to recognize an opportunity there. Honestly, I think Coils was a little bit far forward, considering he was all alone.
100%. No purification beads. You have to stay further back than that. There's just no reason to be that far forward. Swarm and Honey go a long distance. No need to barrel stuff those abilities on the archers. Back it up and get it from a safe distance.
A little bit risky from mattkoiz here. He's getting aggressive after just losing his mid laner to try and maybe turn something around, answer back what Cavalry just found for themselves. Instead, he has to fall back and soak up that mid-wave experience. Meanwhile, on the right side, Jumper's making a rotation towards Jarmangandr on the Xing 10 to look to pick up the set again. And the CC chain is just going to be too much unless a miracle happens. He's going to fall down again for his second death here. And that's the one issue with playing set, the lack of control. You really need beads.
Lack of CC immunity, exactly. You do need the beads, but you need teleport for the laning phase. It especially hurts when you're going up against a Guardian because you have to build some sort of magical defense, which means you're that much more vulnerable to jungler ganks.
Nice little flop from Key there in mid, hitting 2 targets, but nobody really in the position to follow up at the same time. Over the wall dumps Jumper though towards MidShot, who was trying to pick up those left-hand harpies and did so well. Gold differential at the moment, only 700, but most of that is in Nemesis' favor. They look confident, and that's probably what you expect from a team that's, well, 2-1 in the league so far.
Yes, and honestly, it's a surprise that they've had the one loss. That's their first loss in the regular season all year. They went undefeated in Phase 1, if my memory serves me properly. So this is a team that really dominated PS4 NA, and to take one loss at all, I think probably served as a wake-up call for this team that they needed to try and get things right, get themselves in the right headspace, and end up turning it around and really turning up the heat when it comes to qualifying for Worlds later on.
Interesting to see the contagion coming up from Jarmangandr here as well. One of the newer items with the mid-season as well. Obviously, I think it was a little bit powerful coming out. No real surprises there to see getting picked up. Physical protection, always going to be impactful. But the one thing I'm worried about is, like, well, what's he really getting it for? The anti-heal of who? Is it basically LazyADC because he's gone for the Bancrofts and ISIS?
Yeah, I think it's both of those things. Slipshot Siren also has a lot of healing with Kingslayer, so
point,
I think it's a lot of small incidental healing that Jarman is counting in, and I think it's the right call. I think it's heads up. It's not quite as obvious as when you're going up against a hell. We need anti-heal, but I do think it's worthwhile.
Cavalry here going to start the Gold Fury, looking for an opportunity. They do have an ISIS with that circle of protection, and of course an Olorun with a ridiculously huge ultimate. Meanwhile, on the backside, cCoils gets caught out by MidShoTzZ and forced to use the Stinger, but it's actually a turnaround kill as MidShoTzZ. He could have just ulted away. Instead, he held his ultimate and cost him his life. Now Jumper blinks on in, looking towards LazyADC. He has to use the Beast to get away, but it's K who was trying to support the aggression onto LazyADC that goes down to Zaxy, and LazyADC, well, the Aegis will buy him a second, but would the bees be enough?
No.
Nope, the nerfs were good enough.
Really, really good Aegis there by LazyADC. Heads up that there were abilities coming from over the wall. You say massive ultimate from Olorun, but LazyADC missed it. I mean, he just used it a little bit too early. No one else was coming in for Nemesis, and mattkoiz really read him like a book, was able to get out of range right away. And from that point on, Nemesis had a great fight.
You know, with LazyADC using the ultimate though on Olorun, I was really expecting them to commit to the Gold Fury, and like, it makes it very difficult for Nemesis to do anything about it. Like, instead, they reset it, they waste the ultimate, and then end up taking a fight after the fact. Disappointing for Cavalry. I like the call of going for the Gold Fury with the composition they had, though. Circle protection, very impactful. Same can be said for Olorun.
And very little objective secure on the side of Nemesis. You can body block Stinger, that's your biggest one that you have to worry about. Zaxy's got burst damage, but you can CC him. I think that's the right call for Cavalry. It looked to me like they didn't have the conversation about what the goal was going in there. I mean, we are going to burn this Gold Fury, we are committing to it, or we're trying to bait the fight. If they were trying to bait the fight, LazyADC had an ult that was bad. If they were committing to the fight, or to the Gold Fury, I don't mind the ultimate from him, but the rest of the team's got to be on the same page.
So far, though, Jumper really doing work on this Serqet, involved in every single kill. There's Jarmangandr on this right-hand side, trying to do some proxy farming, but he's got caught with his pants down a little bit. Luckily enough, he is a Xing 10 and has plenty of self-peel, and with cCoils coming in now, it could be a turnaround play. I'm again just a little bit worried there. Going to drop the circle of protection early on. And Key, meanwhile, thinking there's a full commit, doesn't get any help at all. Cavalry just stuck between their tier 1 and tier 2 as Nemesis take a fight that they had no right doing so.
I can tell that you feel for the Bacchus in that situation. Feels bad when your boys leave you behind as a support. But that's a tough position. I mean, just too much invested in the Jarman without any sort of return at all. You got his ultimate.
Yeah.
You didn't even do 20% of his health. Too many missed abilities in that slot. And Jarman is able to walk out, and the rest of Cavalry is kind of just caught.
And the trap on the left-hand side is set for LazyADC. They knew those relics were still on cooldown. And that timing of the gank from Jumper was beautiful. Zaxy helping out there too. Now they'll get the left-hand tower. Mid-tower also gone down at the moment as well. And Nemesis, after this Gold Fury, this is where the game's just, you know, dialed up a notch all of a sudden. And Nemesis have got it by the scruff of the neck.
And tons of big power spikes for Nemesis at the exact same time. I mean, Jumpah finishes off the Relic Dagger, immediately blinks in and plays very aggressively. I love that option from him. You see the Breastplate of Valor for Zaxy. It's not even that much of a DPS loss because he's getting that mana conversion from Book of Thoth, so he's strong now too.
Nemesis really confident now, blinking from cCoils towards the backside and picking up the ISIS, who's now poisoned as well by Jumper. Is it going to be enough damage? No is the answer, so that's forcing Jumper to dive on in. He'll escape with the barest amount of health. Bacchus giving chase, the wall will give him cover, but the Slipshot is there to pick up the pieces.
Man, really unfortunate there for Jumpah that he had to commit to that. cCoils gets ulted by LazyADC, and K is there to pick it up.
And then on top of that, Jarmangandr going to take down another life too for himself into the back. Gold lead now stretches to 5,000 gold, and Nemesis starting to have a little bit more fun with this game. You can see Cavalry just won the last couple of fights with some crazy trades from Nemesis in all honesty, but I think that's just confidence now with how this game has gone.
Why would you be anything but confident of your Nemesis at this point? I mean, you've got a level 16 hell, the highest in the game by a 2-level margin at its worst for Zaxy. I mean, he is huge at this point. He's going to be able to pick up basically anything he wants or start building towards whatever he wants. Pen should be the option. Probably could be an Obsidian Shard, though there's not that much magical defense on the other side quite yet. Could probably get away with something like a Spear of Desolation if he wants to. Oh, he's already capped on CDR. So yeah, it should probably just be Obsidian Shard at this point. so that way he doesn't have to worry about pen too much later in the build.
Yeah, I really don't mind the Breastplate of Valor, actually, from Zaxy here. Sometimes it's kind of like, well, why? But then when you look at what Cavalry have drafted, I mean, the Set and the Ravana, they're going to both be jumping to you in the back line. A lot of physical damage from those two. No real surprise there, but Zaxy may need that Breastplate of Valor right about now as MidShot comes on round. But the gang squad is here as cCoils and Jumper combine. And it's LazyADC that's going to get punished for this more than anybody else. The Aegis did buy a second, but not enough for now. He'll limp away on the barest amount of health. The whole rotation from Cavalry to this left-hand side to support is here, but the damage has already been done.
Man, this is brutal, and you were talking about the very early of the game, why we see teams leave their hunters alone. This is it. Zaxy got a small lead and has really run away with it.
Key going to get punished there towards the tail end too. Full four-man gang from Nemesis. Jarmangandr, meanwhile, able to farm up mid, farm up the right-hand side too, as the pressure from Nemesis is stuck to the left-hand side. No real surprises though. Red buff was just spawning, and the next Fury is going to be available momentarily too. Another available investment for Nemesis to look towards.
They don't even have that much gold left to take on the map for it to be 17 minutes. I mean, look at the other side. Cavalry hasn't even taken down a tier 1 tower.
Oh, Jumper still going in towards Lazy again, and Lazy trying to buy as much time as possible. The ult will help with that. The Sting, it didn't connect, and the slow bees will not make an impact either. However, Nemesis still get the tier 2 tower on the left-hand side while all that was happening. As Cavalry been pinned in their own base now, so almost starting to feel like a high-res versus pros game, this.
It's not a good one if you're on the Cavalry side, though Nemesis looking like, frankly, we expect. This is the team that we expect to dominate this region. They did all of Phase 1, and it's just a matter of if they can improve enough to take down the other console league teams, the minor league teams they may end up facing, just based on what we saw from the cross-play event at the Mid-Season Invitational.
Now, I've not seen too much Olorun so far, but in this matchup for LazyADC, is the reason for Bancross because he's against the Hell, or is that a normal sort of build these days?
No, that's pretty much the way most Oloruns are starting right now. It's just something that lets you box better in lane and gives you good kill potential. Olorun seems to get poked out fairly effectively because he has no mobility, but his turnaround potential is phenomenal with that ultimate. So you kind of leverage that passive of Bancroft's pretty well. Boots into Bancrofts, into rings seems to be about standard these days.
Okay, I just worried about penetration options at one point in time. Sure, the rings do come into play a little bit later. And I guess you're getting all the gold now that these mages are turning up more towards the dual lane. The likes of Freya, Sol starting to see a drift in that lane, and now the full-on mages are arriving.
Zhonghui and the like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's those. Though it's basically just gods that do really well when ahead, I think, are the big ones. Olorun can fit that bill, because he can put out so much damage, and when he's behind, he feels too vulnerable. So being ahead is really the only way he seems super playable right now. So I think that makes sense. Hell is an obvious fit. We see it working beautifully here. Overall, I still think Zhonghui is probably the best, just because he gets so tanky and puts out so much damage, it's nearly impossible to fight against.
Well, Nemesis have been dominant, and for the last couple of minutes, they kind of just farmed up the map. Now they've taken down, though, the Pyromancer and turned their attention to the Fire Giant. No one at Cavalry really needs to know this is going on. But Slipshot Siren on the way, looking to make a play of days. Won't be able to do so, and then he gets lynched by Jumper into the whole squad of Nemesis. Jarmangandr on the peel option on the backside. Just trying to make sure nobody else can get involved. And LazyADC, well, I like the idea of getting the tier 1, trying to get some farm for himself. But the rest of the team may need some help, as Nemesis could look to start sieging this right-hand Phoenix.
Lord knows Cavalry needs the farm at this point. I just don't know if they're going to get enough of it in time. LazyADC will get this tier 2, but it might cost them a Phoenix on the right.
2k gold for the team is impactful. It can be a big swing at this moment, but right now Cavalry have to defend. And there you see the Ravana jumps to the back, followed by Bacchus trying to peel and get the damage off onto cCoils, who with a beautiful Aegis buys enough time. And don't forget, Zaxy's got a lot of sustain there if required. The ultimate out from Olorun is at the tail end of that engagement. He was back too late to save his teammate, but he was back in time to at least defend the next wave and force Nemesis maybe to have to backdoor this. Tell a lie, the minions are still healthy. Zaxy healed him back up, and now Lazy's jumped on again. There's no front line to speak of. Well, there is for a second or two, but not for long, as MidShoTzZ goes down to cCoils, and now the Phoenix will fall.
Just too much farm here for Zaxy. I mean, MidShoTzZ commits, as a level 14 Robin and does no damage at all to a level 20 Hell with Breastplate. Just too far behind.
Right, with how this game went, though, I mean, the early game, relatively even, you know? Cavalry put up a good fight, they stayed even for a long period of time, and then that one Gold Fury is where it started to really get away from. Sure, there was a pick or two before that, and Cavalry had the opportunity to go for it, but it wasn't, you know, the right window.
No, I mean, I still feel like they could have, if they would have communicated better and understood what they wanted to do in that fight a little bit better, it could have worked for them. I don't think the call itself was inherently bad. It's just that when you try and make the call and then decide to change it, and then half the team is on that page and the other half is on the other one, it always ends up poorly.
14-5 then, and Nemesis with the Fire Giant for the next, well, 2 or so minutes. We'll see what they can end up doing with it, even though the right-hand Phoenix is already down. Left one's definitely the obvious target overall, furthest away from the Fire Giant defenses. But normally at stages of the games like this, the back of the game is pretty much broken, minus a miracle. At least from what I can see from Cavalry so far here.
It's really just this XP differential. I mean, your jungler's level 14, that's the same level
huge,
as
actually,
mattkoiz. Robin just isn't a character at this point, frankly.
I mean, we saw him
Can't do
commit to the backline, didn't we? And just exploded. Didn't really get any damage off to speak of that would at least trouble Nemesis, especially when you've got a Hell there anyway. It really has to be a hard commit from the whole of Cavalry to try and make an impact against this squad.
I mean, they did kill Zaxy, but that's because they kind of grouped up for a big Spirit Ball and the entirety of Wind Gust and Circle of Protection, and still all of that was completely necessary. It's not a good spot to be in if you're Cavalry.
Chloe's feeling very happy about that. Deny mid-shot some farm, as we know he's already behind an experience. But not only that, strips away the cloak as well, so that's going to be down for the next 60 seconds. I'm not sure how much they're going to really make of that now, as Nemesis going to group up towards this mid lane, take down the final tier 2 tower with 1,500 gold. The slip shot on that right-hand side, looking potentially, I was going to say, but he's just backed potentially here at the moment too. LazyADC flipped, plucked, and destroyed by the whole squad. And the rest of Cavalry just watched on with blank stares from my point of view. You've got to help your teammates out. I know you're behind, but you can't just watch them die.
I mean, he just can't be there, though, at the same time, Graham. There's no world in which you can defend that tier 2 anyways. Why not sit under the Phoenix?
Frenzy pops up here as the commit towards the Phoenix is on Defray, but on the backside, though, this is Cavalry committing in a 4v5, trying to turn this around. Nemesis still have the Fire Giant for a few more seconds, too. And it was cCoils that got relatively low there, but he should be pretty safe at this point, unless the Bacchus looks for the commit. But if he does so, it'll cost him his life. The middle Phoenix falls, the right-hand Phoenix already down. Jarmangandr takes down the Bacchus. And with that, Nemesis, happy with the result, fall back towards the left-hand side, where there's a beautifully big minion wave.
Oh, how convenient for Nemesis on this side of the map. Now, not a lot left in the tank for them. No ultimates, though mattkoiz will have his soon. Doesn't seem to matter, though. Cavalry have too much on their plate to worry about that left Phoenix.
Quite respectful, actually, from Nemesis there to fall back. They've taken all the Phoenixes down. Maybe they're a little bit worried about Kenny having his ultimate up and LazyADC just respawning there. And to be right, they're pretty much on par with that for what they've chosen to do. They can fall back now, though, decide what else they want to buy, but the game's pretty much in the bag at this point. The Gold Fury is just more icing on the cake.
Yeah, get this last Gold Fury, finish off your 6th item. By the time you back to base and walk to fire, that is up. You get fire. Your right Phoenix is up now, or the right Phoenix that you took earlier is up. Kill that, win the game. That is the very succinct and easy on paper game plan now for Nemesis.
Has this been the story of Benedict's Cavalry so far this year? Has this been the same sort of play we've seen out of them, or have the games gone longer? Has something different been happening?
No, this seems to be about right for what we've seen from them so far. I can't recall too many games that I've had the opportunity to cast them, but for the most part, they certainly have looked like they've learned some things throughout their time in the console league so far. They've gotten a pretty good decent draft. I don't mind the draft that much. I think that they had the right idea on the Gold Fury, but it's just the execution sometimes lacks, the decision making sometimes lacks, and then if both of those things happen at the same time, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that's hard in terms of SMITE competitive play. When you get behind, trying to stay in the game without just, well, falling over like dominoes is a big instance where a lot of pro teams have that issue too, where they fall at one mistake and it just compacts into one big problem that just continues on. And it really was, like you said, that Gold Fury attempt where it went wrong, and from there, Nemesis have had control of this game, and now they have a second Fire Giant. Ryan Phoenix has respawned. Won't be super healthy this time round, definitely a weakened version, and it won't last long. The 5 minion wave on the way, and unless Cavalry look to commit here, they're going to have to defend at the Titan line, I don't think that's the best call against 3 waves of fire minions.
Looks like there might not be any defense at all. K is already dead.
Next up, uppercut from cCoils lands, and on the landing, LazyADC does get his Aegis off. But after the fact of that, he gets spun in the air, and Zaxy hits him with the Shadow Bolt. Next up, though, is the Titan to fall, and Nemesis are going to take game 1 in commanding fashion.
This is the Nemesis that we expect to see on any given week. I mean, it's the team that has all the experience in this region. It's just a matter of stringing these wins together. Cavalry, like we said, had some bright spots, but ultimately a lot to learn.
Credit where it's due from my point of view is definitely Jumper. The Serqet play of that game was, well, really solid. Good blinks, good engagements, waited in the right areas as well for the opportunity to arise. It wasn't just a full-on commit, die all the time. Although the tier 2 tower in mid was a little bit risky.
Yeah, it's all right. You know, that's the way it goes sometimes. But you're right. Jumpa had a great game. The game plan to give Zaxy all the farm in the world ends up paying off beautifully. He played very, very well, besides dying with Vegas up on the right side. Phoenix.
I mean, he's playing hell. Don't give him too much credit.
Yeah, you just kind of walk at them and press your right bumper, and they all explode. Well, I guess it's R1 because he's on PS4 now.
Good play. It's funny to see all these players from the other box days and the other console days now over on PlayStation doing very well for themselves now.
Yep.
And Nemesis is a shoo-in towards maybe looking at Worlds now?
Yes, I think so. I mean, they aren't number 1 in the standings super cleanly anymore because of that loss, and we're only 3. This is week 4. But let's be real. They are the team to beat by a considerable margin. Give them 3 more weeks, and I'll bet you they're clinched to go to Worlds.
Well, game 1 in the books. Game 2 to follow. We'll be back right after this.
The SMITE Console League is brought to you by Titan Forge Games, the developers of SMITE.
Welcome back to the SMITE Console League. My name is Finch yet again. Happy to have you here with us yet again, as just got finished here with Nemesis finding a pretty convincing Game 1 win. So now it's all to do for Benedict's Cavalry to try and adjust and come back and stretch this out to 3 games. I'm joined by Anatoly Alexeyev right here next to me. And Toly, what stood out for you here, man, in that big win for Nemesis?
There was 2 big things. And number 1 was obviously the Serqet coming out of Jumpa, ending 7-2 and 11. A lot of kill participation, but then also, more importantly, was Zaxy's hell. He went also off. He went 6-1-9 that game, top of the player damage charts at 19,000, and then 16,000 heal to boot.
Yeah, not too bad when you can be the one in the long lane, getting literally all the farm that there is all to yourself, and then rotate over and start to pop off. But this is something that we expect from this Nemesis team, that they've been playing together for so long, that they're able to play at this high level and make sure they get some of their playmakers to farm. I do want to mention, I believe it was cCoils that was in there in the middle lane here for them this time. The Muzen Cobb also looks strong as well. Not sure if that's rename, if that's a permanent thing that they're going with, but definitely looks good in there with them.
Yeah, he did get kind of punished at that one time when he was under his own tier 1 tower, you know. God forbid I'm under my own tower, but good kind of recognition coming through from Cavalry to be able to abuse that positioning. So I think that he can still kind of use that as a factor going into game 2. It's like, all right, they're going to be aggressive. I need to peel it back a little bit. He was still there, though, when the damage was required out of him.
And it's tough, too, for Benedicts to kind of switch gears and start talking about Game 2, because they got a lot of really strong picks for themselves here in this game. They had the Isis, they had the Olorun. I think the Bacchus made some sense trying to go into that hell to slow down some of an anti-heal. So if it's not a picks and bans issue, then it clearly must have been an in-game execution issue for this team, and those feel like a little bit harder to clean up on a game-by-game basis.
The aggression coming through from Jumpah and the rest of Nemesis, they had a game plan going in. It was basically to shut down the Olorun. Between the Tier 1, Tier 2 towers, setting up those ganks multiple times, just wasn't really allowing Cavalry to do anything for free.
And that might mean then that they need to do something with a little bit more early pressure, either in the jungle or even for the Olorun himself, for LazyADC, to get him into a better position so that he's not struggling in the early game. Because Olorun can feel a bit vulnerable, can feel like he struggles to develop some of his own pressure at the beginning of the game, though he feels quite potent in that mid game once his boxing potential's online.
And I think Nemesis did a good job playing around the Olorun, not only ganking him, but around those team fights of his abilities, avoiding the sanctified field, and also that circle of protection on so many times. And I think they realized what was the threat. Even though the Serqet and the Hell really popped off, the Muzen comp damage and the push power was a little bit too annoying to deal with.
That's right. If it's going to be in the middle lane this time, it'll be for Benedict's Cavalry. But the Thor picked up here for Jumpah. I mean, he's been a long-time rival of Layers back when they were on the same console. Maybe he can show us some of his own layers here on this Thor himself. But he's got his own legacy on it of playing it quite well, too.
And with the Thor comes the Isis. This is like Season 1-esque 2v2. You're not really going to beat that unless you get like Naja and then insert other pushing power god here to be able to fight into that, as we're seeing even more dominance in the soul lane.
Yeah, King Arthur comes out to give them some pressure, but I mean, this is a scary mid-jungle combination there for Nemesis, whether it's the silence, whether it's the spirit ball, whether it's the wall. Once they start that CC chain, they'll be able to keep that chain going rather efficiently, and there will be plenty of damage alongside it, already hard to fight into.
Thor wants to be close, Isis wants to be far away. It's a match made in heaven. Move away, Osiris, as Thor kind of steps in there, as Ares is another one of these dominant gods. And with Thor and Ares, it's probably going to be an Ares support, even though Ares has been seen a little bit more in the jungle.
That's right. That does feel a little bit more like mattkoiz's type of pick there for him, so I expect the tour will see it. Oh, hey, man, don't put it beyond these guys. Maybe we switch it around, try and give mattkoiz something like a Thor in the support role or something like that. So I'm going to lean heavily towards the Ares for him, but we'll keep the door open as King Arthur and Kumbhakarna add some beefiness to this front line here for Cavalry. There should be some room for this Muzen comp to now operate as long as they don't fall too far behind.
They definitely need some more safety, though, besides just Kumbhakarna to keep this AMC alive. Now, Hell with being banned away, maybe go for your own form of sustain with Chang'e, but if you do pick a sustain god, where do you really run it, right? Like, I guess you can run AMC in the long lane and then have Chang'e, maybe Ra in the mid still, Aphrodite still open.
Yeah, there's definitely some options for this team about where they want to go if they do want to lean onto some of that sustain. Though, I don't know, it hasn't particularly worked here for them. They're themselves the ones banning away the Hell. There is no long lane pick yet for Nemesis on what they want to do to give over the hyper lane or the hyper farm lane here at this point. It looks like that could potentially be the Anhur. Though I feel like you probably want Anhur mid nowadays. So maybe Isis in the long lane?
It could be, but it's Zaxy we're talking about in that long lane. I'm expecting him to keep it traditional with the hunters and look for a way to abuse LazyADC. And it doesn't really matter where you put Anhur, he's still going to dominate regardless.
You're right. I mean, I know Zaxy just got through playing the Hell last game, but the Anhur just feels a little bit more like what we're used to seeing from Zaxy from a more holistic standpoint. As Kuang comes through, Kuang is a god that the numbers tell us does really, really well, but we actually don't see him get picked up that much.
Unfortunately not. It's very close range, and this meta, when you're dealing with an Ares and an Isis, I almost think that the Kuang was a mispick. Well, not like intentionally mispicked, but like just to a point where you have to now worry about the Ares chains and flames. Isis is going to CC you down to oblivion. And now you got Chang'e CC to worry about.
And to heal you up outside of execute threshold potentially as well, so this might have just gotten even tougher. Looks like Benedict's Cavalry were right to be worried about the sustain and ban away the Hell. The problem is that they can also add this Chang'e. So that must make me think then that it's going to be the Chang'e going to the short lane to play solo.
That's what it feels like to me as well.
That's right. She elects to go with some of the cooldown boots and meditation she might never have to back. We'll get our chance to see, though. Hindu Man, been a while since I got to say it. I'm going to throw it down to you.
Thanks a lot, Finch. Normally I'm throwing it at you for the most part, in the grand scheme of things. Nemesis up 1-0 here. Benedict's Cavalry, though, adjusted their picks and bans, obviously being first pick. Open up the doorway to pick up that AMC. But their composition coming together here. Very interested to see how this plays out. And funny enough, we do have Hunters, well, dual lane players playing Hunters, I should say, because nowadays it's different.
What a nice change of pace back to the way it should be, as K tries to do exactly what mattkoiz tried to do, and exactly the same situation. He fails at that one.
I'm still not a big fan of going for this on a Kumbhakarna play. It's kind of strange. If you're going to do it on a Kumbhakarna, it's throwback. That's what it is. It's belly flop.
Yep.
It's the only way you can really go for that play. The yawn, you've got to time it so perfectly, and the damage of your basic attacks, it's not going to be often that you're going to be in range for it, and the CC doesn't last that long.
I agree.
Very risky.
I mean, if your game plan is to not steal it, but just delay, then Yawn works, I think. But I don't know if that's the plan right now. Jumpah seems to have miscalculated.
Yeah, and now Jumpah's in trouble because of that. He does have his speed buff, though. It's not the quickest buff in the world these days, but it's still mighty faster than the rest of them, I'll say, with a couple of nerfs to that through the season. And now he's being zoned away from further experiences. MidShoTzZ they're going to strip away Jumpah's heartkeep camp as well on this backside. And Jumpah doesn't really have an option. He was trying to walk away from K. I'm surprised he didn't just do it, considering the fact that he only had was the yawn at level 1.
Yeah, he could either just walk right through him there, or you should just back and head to the other side. And K is very in tune with what Jumpah wants to do. Look at where he's going, mirroring his movements.
As a support,
right,
I'm not too upset about this meta. I just get to mess around with the jungler all day and cause him harm. Talking about causing harm, Zachsy's causing some harm for LazyADC on that left-hand side there. Beads early on, and that will be a warning sign straight away. The good news is, though, that Jumpah may not be able to get over there to maybe make use of those beads being on cooldown, because Kumbhakarna's been a pain in his backside. However, Ares has arrived, and where's your yawn now, friend? There it is.
mattkoiz didn't space it quite well enough in order to get away, but K will not be getting away anytime soon. Blink's up in 10, but
I do actually like MidShoTzZ on the right-hand side, though. He's making this worthwhile, sure. K does fall there, gives first blood to Jumpah, which kind of denies some of the loss of farm that they got from him, but he'll be able to lose his speed buff now on the right-hand side, too, keeping him trapped at this level 1.
This is exactly what this strat is designed to do, and I think Jumpah really plays into it by chasing him around. Yeah, you cannot... You just have to ignore it.
Oh, blink in there. I just heard on the side of my screen from mattkoiz, and he's looking towards MidShoTzZ. Body blocks came into play for a second, allowing Jumpah to close the distance. But remember, Jumpah is still level 1. It's almost 3 minutes in the game. At this point, I would pause and ask for somebody to make sure he had his controller plugged in.
It's not been good so far, and now mattkoiz is in trouble because he's taking a fight up against level 4 King Arthur. And level 3 Kuang. Bad decision.
Really good start then from Cavalry's. Now they look to invade this blue buff as well. Jumpah's still level 1. I'm going to keep saying it because he's not managed to find any farm at the moment. The squad of Cavalry done a very good job of denying this Thor. And with how a lot of people have been banning him just lately after the changes to him, does this make a lot of sense?
Yeah, I mean, but this works against just about any jungler. It's really just that Jumpah is not playing around this properly. He has to just go and soak lane farm. I mean, it feels bad. Yeah, it feels bad for cCoils or Zachsy. It doesn't feel as bad as being level 1 when your enemy jungler is level 4. And you just cannot let yourself get frustrated and chase around the support. It does nothing for you at all. There's farm elsewhere on the map. You have to go and take it from somewhere. Just, I'm surprised because Jumpah is a long-standing player that he kind of falls into that trap where you really should be just ignoring the player and going to find farm elsewhere.
Now, funny enough, we talk about all the denials of farm there, but Cavalry at the moment still even in terms of gold. Jumpah now going to try and gank some in mid lane, or maybe just farm up a little bit there. He had mattkoiz in tow. Kumbhakarna's going to buy himself enough time. Groggy Strike connects. I don't know about taking this trade with no backup. I think if Nemesis would have realized that, they may have turned their attention back towards him.
Certainly could be the case, but at this point, Jumpah's the same level as that enemy support, so he's not doing a whole lot in that 2v2 anyways.
Interesting to see how the dual lanes are matching up now as well, but here in mid lane, Silent Spirit Ball, Circle of Protection, and K's gonna fall down again. MidShoTzZ will also pick up cCoils, and celebratory ultimate out from the Hebo there in victory with the fact they got the kill. Left hand side though, Zachsy's getting a bit annoyed about what's going on over here, so he's trying to make something happen. That Impale shot was a predicted one that didn't work out well. Meanwhile, MidShoTzZ in mid will turn into a dragon at the cost of mattkoiz.
doesn't decide to go for the enemy back harpy. He's a bit surprised because he's level 5 with Jumpah only being level 3, but I guess he didn't have a whole lot of abilities up at that point. Plus, blue buff on the right-hand side is spawning soon.
Yeah, already I'm looking towards Zaxy more than anybody else on this team to try and bring his team back out of this deficit in the early stages. The gold deficit isn't really there, but experience definitely. And with this Anhur pressure on the left-hand side, though, maybe you can force Cavalry to pay some more attention and hopefully give Jumpah a chance to get some farm in his own jungle.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I mean, Zaxy has got to be the one to step it up here, and dropping that solo kill really hurts. You definitely should have had that one. Missed a couple ticks of that ultimate, it looked like, and an auto attack, and an impale, all after the fact. So Zaxy, hopefully, and knowing him pretty well as a former teammate of mine, he's not going to lose a whole lot of confidence. He's going to be right back to trying to solo him pretty soon.
Does he continue to play up as well? Is he just that aggressive? Well,
yeah.
K could be in trouble here. He's kept the aggression going a little bit too long, still at only level 3, matching that of mattkoiz now. But in enemy territory on his own, he's going to be another casualty here towards the tail end. And this is just buying more of a window for Nemesis to climb back into this now. The damage was done earlier on, but keeping it up may be a little bit dangerous on your own.
Agreed, yeah. Just an overstep there by K. And you're level 3 Kumbhakarna. You just can't really afford to take auto attacks from even a level 4 Thor. He'll just do too much damage to you at this point. Look at the net worth on the left side of your screen. Very bottom of the player damage charts by a fairly considerable margin so far. Now, the good news is, look at where MidShoTzZ is in comparison to Jumpah. That's what this whole strat was designed.
He's still getting aggressive in the mid lane on his own there. Into the sky goes Jumpah, though, looking for a dunk if he can find it, and finds it straight onto Kumbha's head. He will jump away, and it will survive for the time being. The damage at the tail end wasn't enough there. As we saw those lightning strikes go out, it didn't have enough to kill K, but he's got to be careful now. I'm really a little bit worried. I think Kumbha played it really well early on, but he's just been a little bit overly aggressive as Lazy comes on it in, trying to strip away those left-hand harpies. 3-3, 7 minutes in.
And this is what the strat is designed to do. Keep the jungler down. Despite being 2-0, Jumpah's down in net worth and in XP. So, success so far.
Well, you mentioned Zaxy keep aggressive going, and he did so, but he took a lot of damage for that. Gets the Impale and the Desert Fury, but only, what, no hits of that hit? Did he do that on purpose? Right inside, though, MidShoTzZ now trying to look to invade the blue buff once more, but with mattkoiz alongside helping out Jumpah. Jumpah has climbed back up to an almost equal level towards MidShoTzZ as LazyADC punishes Zaxy there. And rightly so. You miss your whole Desert Fury, you deserve to be punished.
Even jumping in, I was concerned for Zach because he's in Stinger kill range at that point. He was taking too much damage and wasn't able to regen a whole lot without any lifesteal at that point. Only tier 1 of the Spike Gauntlet, so very little lifesteal. And LazyADC just needed the mana in order to get that Stinger going, and found it, and found the easy kill.
Yeah, it looks like Zaxy's window of opportunity there on that Anhur in the early game didn't end up paying off. And just as the window when he thought he could get aggressive and finally get a kill onto Lazy, who's done a very good job of surviving and making sure he stayed in that lane, ends up working against him then. So Lazy now has the lead on that left-hand side. Cavalry then technically up in a couple of different roles here with how this is looking. Let's have a look back then at that replay that we just saw. We'll get a replay rather of that duo lane kill between Zaxy and Lazy. We can get a look at that. That'll be great right about now. Should be good.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah, like I said, I mean, you just need the mana for Stinger. Slow him down with the honey, and then I'm guessing this is going to be a walk up and press Y.
Oh,
and
Zaxy.
He's dead.
Deserves to die there as well. Thanks a lot for that replay. LazyADC just picking up the tail end of the mistake from Zaxy of staying up in the wave. I think the aggression was fine because everybody was on the right side, but after the aggression fails, you got to fall back.
Yep, I completely agree with you. You just have to be a little bit more wary of how much damage this AMC is going to be able to put out. And now, I mean, LazyADC's up 400 gold. This gold lead in the jungle is stretched to 500 now. It's not looking too good for Nemesis. That being said, solo lane isn't too bad. Only a small lead there for a slip shot. In the mid lane, things are going a little bit better for you. You're even there. mattkoiz has a big lead over K in net worth and a little bit in experience, so it's not all horrible right now for Nemesis. They just have to be wary of where their leads are.
Blinking from K onto 2 targets. I pick up a cut used as well, but he selected the Ares, and the Olorun Ares was good. cCoils couldn't really do anything at the tail end. No circle of protection. Meanwhile, right-hand side, Slipshot trying to get aggressive towards Jumpah and Jarmangandr at the same time. Jumpah literally has to jump away to his hammer to survive. The Slipshot still getting aggressive against the Chang'e. Going to be a long old fight, that one, before anyone dies, but all the while, Cavalry Now onto the Gold Furies. MidShot's getting aggressive towards Zaxy. Zaxy up, downs, looks for the Impale, finds it, Desert Fury. MidShot goes down right-hand side. Slipshot stuck around too long, and he gets punished too. And Cavalry don't even get the Gold Fury.
Wow, that one hurts if you're Benedict's Cavalry, because everything was going really well, and then you lose 2 fights on both ends of the map at the same time. Zaxy gets a big shutdown bonus onto MidShoTzZ because he was on a kill streak with a nice up-down play, as you highlighted. And Slipshot tries to win the 2v1, and frankly does, but he sticks around a little bit too long. Jumpa just goes behind the tier 2 tower and goes up into the Anvil of Dawn and dunks down onto him. That Chang'e anti-heal and the consistent low cooldowns will end up punishing you if you take extended fights against her. That's exactly what Slipshot ended up doing.
You saw Nemesis on the right side there. After MidShoTzZ does fall down, speed buff invaded and stolen by Jumper. Cavalry didn't really notice what was going on until it was too late and it was already taken down. So with that, the gold lead is 500 in Nemesis's favor now at this stage, and the experience is also in their favor, but ever so slightly. Nemesis done a good job of battling back, and this is what we said about Cavalry in Game 1. They fell behind but couldn't find a way back into it, whereas Nemesis is showing that if you get down in a deficit, just keep playing good Smite. You're always going to have a window back in.
Exactly right, and that's that experience coming out. I mean, just having a million games where you've been a little bit behind because of the jungler getting harassed, or your ADC drops a couple solo kills and then gets ult themselves. I mean, that's the experience that these guys have really shining through in their gameplay.
Look at cCoils really quick on the mid lane on that ISIS. Where's he going with that build choice now? He's gone for the cloak options?
Could be Magi's would be the only guess that I would have.
But there's so many things to proc it with ease, right? Like,
yes.
Hebo from distance can just water spout, right?
Yeah, we don't like that. I agree with you, but it does stop these blink Mez initiations.
Speaking of blinks, there's one from cCoils, and in the sky, Jumper was there. Bit of a mistimed opportunity from both, but they recognized that the beads were on cooldown was the biggest scream there. And Jumper laughing his way to victory after his early game performance is an interesting thing to see, but you gotta play with confidence in the SCL.
Hey, that would tilt me if I'm Benedict's Cavalry. We're like, dude, you were level 1 for 3 minutes. Don't laugh at me.
Jumper just used his beads there to get away from Key, and Key now in a bit of trouble too. A lot of damage comes out at the tail end there, thanks to the Spirit Ball and Wind Gust combination. Kenny just trying to defend that red buff. Has got to be careful because there's 3-4 members grouped up by Nemesis. Could even be a look towards the Gold Fury, how this position is. Zaxy though, leaping on in, gets support, wall down from Jumper to deny the angle, and the Desert Fury a little bit too late to really make an impact, but the Aegis did work, and a beautiful Spirit Ball over the wall from cCoils allows the two that failed a gank to pick it up. Slipshot meanwhile though, juggles Jarmangandr in the air, and MidShot's now rotating in to try and punish this, but a full health Chang'e and a low health Slipshot. I don't think I want to take that trade just yet.
And that just means that this left side Gold Fury is all the more free because of cCoils' beautiful Spirit Ball over the wall. Nemesis is now solidly back in the lead. And they've this mid jungle of Isis Thor, that CC heavy composition that burns beads really well, is going to really be hard to catch up against.
It's always funny how long Thor's been away from the meta for so many years, and then everybody remembers how much they hate him. Yeah, he's only been around like a couple of weeks, you know? He's not been around that long just yet.
Well, it's because they played against him for so long before that. You know,
Season 1.
Right. But
was the last real time he was competitively useful.
I completely agree with you, and I'm really enjoying Thor's time back in the spotlight. MidShoTzZ trying to win a 1v1 down 2 levels. Don't know if Jumpa had the mana. That's a bad call.
Did the change to Berserker Barrage really make that much of a difference, or is it changes elsewhere that have really allowed him back in?
It's the change to Berserker's Barrage does make a big difference just because it lets him clear the jungle so much more quickly.
Sure.
The change to the ultimate, giving him some late game scaling on it, basically is what that change effectively does for you. It makes it so that if you commit, in the old days, if you committed to an Anvil of Dawn in the midst of a team fight late in the game, you insta-die. Oh,
over the wall jump Zaxy after the no escape from cCoils connects. Nicely executed from Nemesis for now. The damage after the fact, though, Zaxy is whiffing. He's whiffing hard today. He needs to eat shreddies in the morning or something because it's not going right here. Kate turns up, though, with a blink, but Slipshot on the right-hand side is trying to buy some time. Fight on the left is still going to go down. Slipshot's certainly dead. Meanwhile, a dragon has been summoned by MidShoTzZ as he executes down cCoils. And a turnaround play there, 1-for-1 across the map.
Look, Zach played really well game 1. Oof. Ouch. He played really well game 1, and we just don't have to talk about this one. I mean, if an AMC gets pulled in by Gold Fury with no relics at all and lives, something went horribly wrong.
I mean, I don't think I've seen. I love Zaxy too, but I'm going to still roast him for this.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
think I've seen that many Desert Fury basics from it. You know, the ultimate.
Right.
Not seen that many missed since
Ever.
Zapman Season 2, maybe? Yeah. Yeah. After
It's been bad.
Actually, no, Zapman Season 1 after he dove in and missed. I do remember that one. But it wasn't that many.
That's 2 where he's gone 0 for 16, I believe, in total. Maybe
Hang on,
1
hang
for
on.
16?
Let's do the caster thing, right? Maybe Zax is using the opportunity here to give Lazy a chance more than anything else. You know, just worry him, scare him away.
Oh, I got it. He's giving Lazy a sense of false confidence that, oh, I don't have to Aegis next Desert's Fury because Zaxy will miss all of them.
Well, he
and
got
then
a
he'll hit them
kill.
all.
Well, he also got a kill after the fact as well. So Zaxy's playing the long con here.
Right.
It's
Very
genius.
smart. Yeah, very, very smart.
Genius. We'll see.
He's
if
just harkening back. I mean, he's not used to having. He's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. Zaxy. They've got a great quarterback now. He's playing like their old quarterbacks where they were all really bad and missing all their throws.
all I know about Kansas is like Dorothy was from there, right? That's about it.
Yeah, that's all. That's really all there is.
Slip
Yeah.
shot pinned into a wall there. Double tap connects as well, and the quick Berserker barrage really piles on. And Slipshot Siren, who looked for a bit of a cheeky proxy farm there, gets punished heavily by the might of Nemesis rotating in. K a little bit too late to the party to make an impact there. Two members grouped up from Cavalry in mid though, but cCoils this time playing relatively safe. And like game one, where he got picked off there, LazyADC on the left-hand side is pretty far pushed up. But notice how the web and the wave of the game goes. When pressure's on the right-hand side, you'll see players try and take advantage on the left. And that's good smite.
Understanding how the map plays in those sorts of instances for sure. We thought it might be a Magi's for cCoils. Turns out to be a Hide of the Urchin. And there is an awful lot of damage on the side of Cavalry.
It's
and
got health.
Getting an early Hide of the Urchin, if you can evolve this, your chances of winning really go through the roof. I mean, evolved Hide of the Urchin is incredibly potent.
A gank into a counter gank is on the cards here as MidShoTzZ commits, but on the backside, Jumper was there too. Beads used by Lazy to escape the wall, did not connect with shots, and neither did the hammer toss either. The bees from the honey did connect onto Zaxy and push him back, but now Nemesis rotating two more members over. Inkoiz and cCoils will relieve some pressure. Realistically, it was a good call from them to rotate in too, as there was no tower for them to take down in mid. It would just even things up. And it made Kenny make a call, and Kenny made the right call there, sticking mid and soaking up some much-needed farm. Now he's got a 2-level lead, make it 1 over cCoils.
This Habwa is going to be one of those really feast or famine picks, I think, for Cavalry come 5 minutes from now or so. That's where you really have to make your ultimates count, be in the right position, don't get picked for little investment, and it can be difficult against a composition that has this much ranged CC between the Thor wall and the Spirit Ball and the Waxing Moon coming from Jarman, even the long-range pillars from Zaxy. You have to use the Water Carpet for that. Not having the Water Carpet after the fact means that you're more vulnerable. This is a composition that's very hard to play against as a squishy mid laner, and Kenny's going to have a lot of weight on his shoulders.
Just looking at that solo lane real quick, and the Chang'e has a nice lead over Slipshot Siren here on this King Arthur. 2-level lead, it was 3 moments ago. But this is the damage of Slipshot getting aggressive still in this lane. Chang'e's been pretty passive in the lane, Jarmangandr there. Not really doing too much apart from sitting under his tower, farming away and waiting for the gank opportunities, but it's paid off well for him.
Exactly. Now he's the one being able to play aggressive and really run it down because he has such a big lead. And now that he has Divine Ruin, Slipshot is getting next to no healing at all from that Glad Shield. That's 90% anti-heal when combined with the 3.
cCoils under a bit of pressure, gets hit by the Epic Uppercut, but a lot of damage came through from Cavalry after the fact that whiffed because of it. The bees could have done some considerable damage there if available, but after that investment, you can see the Primal Fury started up by Nemesis. Jumper did use the ultimate early on, wall out, kills K early on. cCoils gets the ultimate off, but gets hit by a full ultimate out of the Habwa and executed after the fact by MidShoTzZ. Zaxy, meanwhile, does take down the Kumbhakarna, who was already low, and Slipshot Siren under pressure, leapt on by Zaxy. That's a bit of play out of that hunt over there. Jumper, though, going to continue on, forcing MidShoTzZ back. Fury is still available, and Nemesis fall back to it.
Nemesis should be able to take it without a whole lot of extra contest. Still has Circle of Protection just in case, but cCoils holds onto it wisely. Blink Groggy Strike is not what really scares me about Kumbhakarna. I mean, literally the slowest CC option in the entire game is not a good follow-up to a Blink in. K just has to wait for his Mez to come up at that point. Blink Mez is much scarier. He would have gotten a 4 or 5-man Mez if he had it up. just blinked a little bit too early. Must have been up in a second or two. Why not wait?
Look at what Cavalry did, though. This is a beautiful call from them.
Really
They
smart.
rotate all their members over to Fire Giant relatively quickly, and even sending K to the left to cause a bit of a distraction and make sure Nemesis don't know this is going on. They'll know now as the siren sounds to show the Fire Giant's fallen. Great little play from them.
Very, very smart call by Cavalry and Nemesis. Certainly not too pleased, I'm sure, about losing that objective. You could have gotten gold and then sent someone over straight to Fire Giant. mattkoiz was on the respawn timer, so it's not his responsibility. Just the three-man left wave push, unnecessary. I think that someone from Nemesis should have called, we have to cover fire because we don't have ward coverage. We didn't kill that many people. We only killed the support, so they can end up going over and tanking that fairly easily.
I know we use the word signs of life, well, the sentence signs of life quite a bit now and again, but that's a good thing from Cavalry. We saw game one. They just didn't seem to have an answer when they fell behind. This time, though, at least finding some opportunity with the Fire Giant, and maybe a kill onto Kenny here for Nemesis if they can find that wall, which doesn't connect. No escape after the beads are down. Going to force out the crushing wave, which does connect with cCoils, who's nice and tanky. Uppercut after the fact sets him up too, and still cCoils under pressure. Frenzy pops, and the Desert Fury once more whiffing to high heaven. Slipshot still, though, pinned off by the wall and the CC chain that followed up. Nemesis come away with the kill.
King Arthur has had a bit of a rough one so far. Blink Mez much better.
But where's the team? Where's the team? The engagement after the fact was some honey, but it did allow MidShoTzZ to cause a scattering on Nemesis's backline and find a kill on cCoils. It was a support down, and meanwhile they lose a mid laner because of it. K still going in, eats a spirit ball to the face, and he'll fall down now. 3 dead on the side of Cavalry, and Nemesis grouped up as 4 in mid, looking for another.
MidShoTzZ has to use the stealth and head north. No one should be able to chase him from this angle, but you just lost a full 5-on-5 with the Fire Giant in your favor if you're Benedict's Cavalry. So Nemesis has their choice. Do we try and push down this mid-tier 2 with such great wave clear in the AMC? A little bit risky. Why not head to the guaranteed Pyro?
I think they could have got a tier 2 though then, to be fair, right? I mean, one ADC AMC in the mid lane against that Armada.
You don't have a tank is the problem. cCoils is dead and you've got a Chang'e solo. You don't have a legitimate frontliner.
Get Zaxy to go in, you know? Just pop the Desert Fury charge on in, scare him away.
Maybe. Yeah, just send him flying, though. At this point, Zaxy hasn't shown us the second half of the plan, which is hitting all of the spears.
Speaking of that as well, Fail not picked up by Zaxy as well. One of the newer items picked up here too. That's why the Desert Fury would be useful, right?
Right, because you get the 20% CDR, so you're just using the ultimate for a little bit of CC immunity and the Fail Not proc after the fact. Damage, completely irrelevant.
See, he played for the long con. His build's even going the same route to show us that too.
Yep.
After that, looks like it's going to be a Chin'e next up on the cards, trying to remove some of the health bars of those higher health targets, especially when you got a Blackthorn Hammer and Slipshot. No real surprise there. But now it's Cavalry on the back foot. Sure, they've got the Fire Giant around 2 waste for the next 30 or so seconds. I'd say actually a minute before that falls off and Nemesis can turn their attention there again. But Fury's coming up next, and Nemesis will be back there looking to start a fight. Probably through, well, Jumpah or mattkoiz.
Those have been the two that have initiated every single fight so far. I do want to see Kenny be a little bit more cautious about using his ultimates offensively. That's twice now that mattkoiz has tried to pull him, and then without purification beads, Kenny's had to use the ultimate, but he's always gone in.
You could
and
go
at
out,
that
right?
point, yeah, you're just going where mattkoiz wants you to at that point.
Don't you lose a lot of damage if you're not at least committing to it? But I guess you're only hitting an Ares, right?
Right,
So
you're only hitting the Ares, you're putting yourself a little bit out of position, you're not being able to save those cooldowns until a little bit later on in the fight. Yes, you have to use it, of course, one way or the other, but I think that you can find better spots to put yourself with that ultimate.
Cavalry trying to defend this tier 2 tower here as Key blinks in and yawns onto 3 targets, but no follow-up damage there, no beads consumed on the side of Nemesis either. It was Nemesis getting aggressive in the jungle, trying to, well, set up an ambush more than anything else before this Fury spawns, but Cavalry didn't take the trap.
Still losing the blink for K does hurt, though he has the Relic Dagger, so it's up soon. The big 40-second reduction on that item, we're seeing it get picked up a lot more often, and for good reason. Cheap, very stat efficient, and a phenomenal passive.
I've seen a couple of Pridwins picked up straight after the Sovereign, from the Gauntlet of Thebes straight after now. Is it not always a go-to item, or is it very dependent on game and situation, just like a lot of items?
I'm pretty sure it's a must-buy on just about every god that it synergizes well with. It just does so much for you. 20% CDR, a huge shield, and the shield just continues to get better and better as the game goes on, as you get more and more protections. So you buy it a little bit earlier where you have your big Thebes power spike, so you feel pretty strong. You don't feel quite as bad taking that time. I think it's a little bit of an awkward build when you go Thebes and Pridewind and Relic Dagger, because Relic Dagger doesn't provide you with any protection, but at the same time it's so cheap and it's a bunch of health and a bunch of other stats you really like that I can't imagine a support build right now that doesn't have Relic Dagger and Pridewind and Gauntlet of Thieves. I think you really need all three.
Is that
the
like
rest of your slots are
core
flexible.
now, basically?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so, yes.
Interesting. Fire Giant started by Nemesis here, and since Cavalry got the last one, I've not really had anything positive to say about what Cavalry's got up to. They kind of just sat on the back foot, ended up taking a couple of fights that didn't work out, and now they're trying to stop Nemesis taking a Fire Giant. Yawn used by K to try and deny the Searing Flames and the Epic Uppercut 2 to peel away. The wall out from Jumper actually saved him, but on the backside, we saw the engagement from Kuang for a second. No escape used. Beads used by Kenny. Into the sky goes Jumper. Don't group up here, Cavalry.
Oh, it doesn't go for the three-man grouping. Instead looks for
Got
mid-shots
him.
and solos him all by himself.
Well, he does have Transcendence as well, so that's going to be a ton of damage onto the backside. Great knock-up, though, from Kenny. The follow-up damage didn't really connect, and Jumper's going to get himself a double kill. Slipshot will take down mattkoiz at least. Spirit Ball on the backside coming out from cCoils connects with him, and Slipshot ends up falling down, giving Jumper a triple kill. And Jumper will be looking and hunting for that Quadra or the Penta, but I don't think that'll be happening today. He might want to commit over the wall if he really wants it, or they could just go and take the Fire Giant.
Yeah, boys, let's go to the big objective. Jarman can tank this one just fine, even though he's playing the Chang'e. Just a beautiful fight by Jumpah. The beads not available, I guess, for mid-shots. Maybe mattkoiz had gotten them just a minute ago. And the Transcendence plus that Runeforged passive. I mean, mid-shots was stunned the entire duration, so he was taking that increased damage from the Runeforged passive. Good night. I mean, just too much damage coming from this Thor.
I will say Nemesis' backline there played that a lot better against the Kuang too. They were kind of like ready and poised for it. A couple of times now, we saw mid-shots manage to get to the backline and catch them unaware of the gank opportunity. But that time, Nemesis had a feeling he could be coming in and shut him down before it even began. Then Jumper was out to capitalize.
Kuang is a character that does not do well when you are grouped as 5. It seems a little bit counterintuitive because he's a late-game burst character, right? But he's not the late game burst character it used to be, where it's all off the 2-3. It's really off his auto attacks more than anything else. And so if you're grouped as this big death ball, he can't get in on top of the ADC or the mid laner and start chewing them down with auto attacks very easily. It's definitely the right strategy against Kuang to stay grouped as opposed to spreading out.
I was worried about the illusion, though, as well, then, because he can just detonate that illusion on a big group of targets, get some decent damage out, but at least you're not necessarily going to get executed at the tail end of that, right?
No, and he's using his escape at that instance. He has to reveal himself if he wants to blow it up, so you're trading out a lot. You're right, Water Illusion does do a lot of damage come the late game, but it's still not what it used to be.
Sure,
in that, I mean, his old kit, man, was really something else. He's still potent for sure, but
well, I mean, his old kit, he used to have a tornado, a giant dragon that had come up as well. He used to spit on people.
Season 1
he
Worlds.
Used to wiggle really quick.
Assassin release Kuang. That was some nonsense.
Jumper swinging around this left-hand side, trying to split the difference between the left and middle lane. Blinking again from K, very telegraphed to yawn onto the whole team. No panic out of Nemesis just yet, but a couple of relics just burned then by Zaxy as he gets away with the leap. Circle of protection down, but nobody inside it. Make K will be in a second. Ultimate there out from Kenny. Did he have the ultimate hit on him?
He did, but it was ended up not going well because of 2 Aegises from cCoils and Zaxy.
Jumper late at the backside there, doesn't find the hit onto K and now rooted in place. Doesn't have aggro onto the tier 2 though, so tier 2 will fall. Nemesis with 4 members with the Fire Giant continue to march on down mid lane. With Kenny dead now, defense gets a bit trickier. A lot of ultimates used. MidShoTzZ and Slipshot though have theirs available, and the commit on Slipshot could really shut him down. Isis is going to be the terror of the King Arthur.
Mid Phoenix still pretty healthy. Nice mez from K. I just don't know if they have the damage to defend here, Graham.
I think K's did a very good job of setting up, but he's not communicating, or the team's not following up is one of the issues about when he's going in. So a lot of these blink engagements, these slowdowns, haven't paid off for them.
No, not at all. I mean, multi 3-4-man mezes quite consistently, but this isn't a composition that has good long-range damage anyway.
Okay, gonna go in, impaled into the wall by Zaxy. He finally found something useful, and now he's gonna get credit for the kill. Cancel that. Jumper will strip that away, and the Phoenix falls down after the fact. Jumper looked for the Berserker to clean up mid-shots there, but at least he got the beads out of the Kuang, which puts him even further on the back foot. Nemesis done the damage to the mid lane. They'll pick up the speed buff and look for a bit of a tricky ambush in the jungle, maybe?
This is a bad chase from Cavalry if they decide to make it. It's a 5-on-3. Sure, mattkoiz is a bit weak, but who cares? It's the Ares at this point.
When you think about how Jumpah started off this game, though, being level 1 for the first 4-5 minutes, now he's 10, 0, and 7. A lot of people may point towards it being Thor. Do you feel the same way, or is it actually Jumpah did a much better job?
No, it's both. I mean, he's not playing a very strong character right now, no doubt about that, but he's played these late game fights well.
No escape out on the right-hand side. Slipshot pulled into the silent circle of protection and detonated. Zaxy credited the kill after the impale. Rugby strike comes into play from K, hits mattkoiz into the uppercut. Mid-shot committed, though, at the same time, and it ends up costing him his life, as well as K's. Now Kenny, who went to the backside with his ultimate, trying to turn this around, can't do much of anything, and LazyADC is back in the fountain too, as is the rest of Cavalry. Nemesis are going to walk through the mid lane and look to close this out in 2 relatively solid games.
Couple misplays from Nemesis, not as clean as you want a team that feels like they can compete with the minor leaguers on the PC side, with the teams like Hype Unit. If Nemesis plays like that, they will lose those games. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Jumpah goes 10-0, but made horrible decisions throughout the early game to put himself behind. Zaxy has 2 really, really bad ultimates, still finishes the game 9-1. At the end of the day, a W is a W. You got to feel good about that for Nemesis, but we know they're capable of more than that.
Well, let's have a little look back at what happened in that game then, because Nemesis, well, overall, with what happened there, it climbs them to 3-1 in the standings, and Cavalry slipped to 0-4 now. So on paper, coming into this is what you kind of expected to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jarman, I thought, had a great game on this Chang'e. He played his early game as slow as he needed to, and then as soon as he got the advantage, hit the gas pedal and played very well and played very aggressively. mattkoiz had not a great set worth of positioning, I would say. Needed to work on that, I think, moving forward.
Cavalry's picks and bans, though, real quick. What do you think about those in that game? I think game 1 was really good, but that one seems a little bit all up in the air.
I agree. Just not enough long-range damage to follow up off Kumbhakarna. I mean, the knock-up is there from the Havwa, but Kenny was just under siege all game and couldn't really get there.
Well, that's it from the PlayStation side of things. We've got Xbox to follow right after this.